At each school board meeting, staff members make presentations that highlight academic programs in the York County School Division. In November 2011, Magruder Elementary staff spoke to the board about using Skype in the classroom.
I'll turn to Dr. Williams for those.
I remember as a kid in Orlando going to Disney and going through the World of the Future display. I don't remember what it's called, but I remember seeing in the kitchens people connecting by telephone video conference with folks, and that seemed out there. Well, obviously that future is already here, and you're going to hear this evening from Magruder Elementary School about how they are using telephone video conferencing, Skype in this case, for learning. And through the use of Skype, Magruder students are able to participate in virtual field trips. They're able to connect with experts in the field and collaborate with other students on multidisciplinary projects. And so I am pleased to introduce Mr. Mike Lombardo, principal of Magruder Elementary, and he will introduce others who are assisting him this evening.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Williams, and members of the York County community. This evening, our accent on academics will provide information regarding Skype in the classroom at Magruder Elementary School. Skype is being utilized at Magruder Elementary School in order to prepare students for the 21st century, foster creativity and collaboration, and expand teaching and learning beyond the classroom. At this time, Jane Koryatzik and Ebony Griffin, who serve as assistant principals at Magruder Elementary, will provide you with information related to Skype in the classroom via a PowerPoint presentation which includes several brief video clips.
At Magruder Elementary, our teachers are beginning to use Skype to complement instruction across curriculum in grades K through 5. Kindergarten has used Skype to check the morning weather across the nation and is planning to Skype with an author illustrator about her work soon. Third grade has gone abroad to Tanzania and is creating local connections with other third grade classes across York County. Fifth grade has visited present-day deserts to study land formations from millenniums past and is hoping to Skype during their units on sound.
Each of these opportunities enrich instruction and must be planned just as thoughtfully as any other instructional activity. Skype sessions are presented by teachers to administrators for approval, and parents are informed about each Skype activity. Students are provided a lesson focus as well as Skype etiquette information and rehearsal prior to each use. In following these procedures, we are helping ensure that appropriate Skype use is taught and reinforced, and that Skype is used to add instructional rigor and relevance to the curriculum. Let's hear from one of our kindergartners about what Skype is.
Tell me about Skype.
Skyping is when you see someone from really far away.
Where do you see them? Okay. Now Mrs. Overton and Mrs. Kasanovich will share with you about their third grade's virtual trip to Tanzania via Skype.
In preparation for our Skype trip to Arusha, Tanzania, the class located the African continent and the country of Tanzania on the world map. Then, Mrs. Gentile introduced our students to the culture of Tanzania by sharing pictures and stories of her recent travels to the region. Students then took ownership of the experience by generating a list of possible questions to ask our guide. Each child was able to articulate personalized questions that were relevant to their own lives and connect to the instructional process. These questions were shared with peers, collectively edited, and selected by the class to send via email to our guide in Tanzania.
On the day of the virtual trip to Tanzania, the students were excited and eager to discover more. They were intrigued by the different time zones, traditional dress, regional foods, local schools, and the wildlife. Students were particularly captivated by the idea that you're more likely to be attacked by a hippo than by a lion. Skype's high visual format and the preparation pictures helped all students gain access to abstract concepts while also providing a personal connection. The virtual trip opened up a window for discussion in real time and provided a perfect opportunity to discover another culture from someone who was living it.
please welcome Mr. Postman and Lauren Pallas to share with you about our third grade's online auction between Magruder and Waller Mill via Skype.
Mrs. Overton's class at Magruder and Mrs. Hoffman's class at Waller Mill are in the middle of a project called eToy, which is an online auction. Students in each class have brought in gently used toys which were photographed and posted on their class's eToy webpage. This week, students from Mrs. Overton's class are bidding on the toys posted on Mrs. Hoffman's webpage, and Mrs. Hoffman's students are bidding on items on Mrs. Overton's page. As the two classes have progressed through the project, we wanted them to be able to communicate with each other. We believe that the activities would be more relevant if they could see and speak to the people who would be shopping at their eToy store. For our first attempt, we used Illuminate. Students in both classes could see me, but they couldn't see each other. We decided to use Skype for our second communication because it allowed the students to see each other in real time. In the first clip, one of Mrs. Hoffman's students is explaining how they have been earning money to spend at Mrs. Overton's eToy store. You'll see the same student speaking from both his classroom and the image that is projected through Skype in Mrs. Overton's classroom.
One way how we are earning money is by doing our lunch choice, doing our agendas, and doing our homework. Manners in the hall is also one set, and that's all the things that we have been talking about.
Hoffman students are performing a short commercial they wrote to advertise one of the toys they are selling. Not surprisingly, this has turned out to be one of the most popular toys for sale.
I thought the commercials were really cool. We got to write our own words and share them with the other kids on Skype. The commercial ends. The commercial shows my favorite toy in the auction. The clip ends with our two classes saying goodbye to each other. Why are you crying, little girl? Because my mommy and daddy wouldn't let me get a pet. That's not fair. I know. Well, this dog is better than a pet. It is? Uh-huh. It doesn't even eat food. You can have it. Your parents are also it does not bark or howl.
At this time, Mrs. Kazmarczyk, Nate Overton, and Jenna Nixon will share with you about the fifth grade's use of Skype for a geological field visit.
In preparation for our Skype in the field with an experienced geologist, the students reviewed information on sedimentary rocks and located the field site on traditional and topographic maps. Students discussed the landforms that might possibly be at the field site with the science teaching team and then generated a list of possible questions to ask the geologist. During the visits, the students were able to see landforms of the Rio Grande Rift and Colorado Plateau, as well as the sparse vegetation and openness of the deserts of the southwestern United States.
The fifth grade students at Magruder Skyped with a geologist in New Mexico and visited the Ojito Wilderness. We were able to talk about sedimentary rocks and how to describe the rocks. The landforms we saw during our Skype session were plateaus, eroded mountains, and smaller valleys. The geologist showed us how landforms are affected by erosion and where erosion is occurring every day. I asked, how can you tell what lived in an area by the rocks? The geologist said that you can tell by the color of the rocks and by fossil prints that may be left in the rocks. He also showed us all of the local layers of sedimentary rocks: gypsum, fine-grained sandstone, and coarse-grained sandstone.
As you can see from our Accent on Academics presentation, we are extremely excited about our students' and teachers' use of Skype to complement rigorous and relevant instruction at Magruder Elementary School. We'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present this evening and would be happy to answer questions.